Hi, welcome everybody. Good morning or good evening, depending where you're based at. We have the pleasure to have tonight with us the Bay Area as well as Switzerland and all the other places on the earth that are tuning in. My name is Franziska and I'm Head of Entrepreneurship at Swissnex in San Francisco. We are excited to have you all here joined tonight or this morning for the experiment of our first virtual demo day. I assume some of you have been to the real thing at Pier 17 with us in San Francisco. I'm at least in spirits, and with my background here, as you can see, for the ones that are familiar with the scene, I'm there. And we are really excited to have 7 startups pitch today at this event. They have all been participating in our 2-week virtual bootcamp. And tonight, or this morning, demo day actually marks the climax of this program. So how are we doing that tonight? I would love to introduce quickly the hosting organization at this day. So Swissnex, for some of you that are familiar with this event, you probably know, but for the others, a quick intro to our organization. We are a global network of innovation outposts. You can see that with the red dots and red font on this map, together with the science and technology offices in blue, we really are a truly global network. Swissnexes are basically the big sister organizations of the science and technology offices. And our mission is to connect Switzerland with our regions where we are based at. So tonight, you're being hosted by Swissnex in San Francisco, so all the way to the west of this map. We connect Switzerland in terms of innovation with these regions through working with corporates, with artists and creatives, with universities, and also with startups. And tonight, we are here to hear about the startups. We have a fantastic team, so more or less always 20 people working to connect Switzerland with the Bay Area. And also in the current COVID time, we are still doing that. So stay tuned for our virtual events and check out our website. I would love to take the opportunity to thank our partner Innosuisse, which is actually financing this program. We have been in partnership with this institution for over 10 years. So we are really glad for the continued support and also for the flexibility in these strange times as we experience them now. So quickly about how this event will go down. So most of you probably have seen it in the invite, but I would like to repeat it quickly. Tonight will be split in 2 parts. The first part is actually the pitch event. You're here right now in the Zoom webinar. It's time to lean back, enjoy the pitches and listen for 3 minutes to each startups and then for 4 minutes to the 4 judges that are asking questions. You have the opportunity to select if you want to get in touch with this company that is pitching. We will collect this information and then forward it to the startups. The chat, by the way, is disabled during the event. So please feel free to join us afterwards for the networking event. So the second part of tonight's event will be on Remo. So we switch platforms. We will share the link at the end of the event again, but you should also have received it through the email. And Remo is actually a pretty fun experiment as well. So it's pretty intuitive for the ones that already checked out the short video that we sent. You know what I'm talking about. And now, before we jump to the pitches, I would love to introduce our 4 fantastic judges. We have the pleasure to have the Bay Area with us here tonight, at least virtually, through fantastic representatives of industry, entrepreneurship, and venture capital. So I would love to give the word to each of them to introduce themselves quickly, starting with Anne, then Brian, then Julie, and then Richard.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anne Coquette. I'm the founder and CEO of The Guild. We're a global community for female entrepreneurs, investors, and innovators. We also teach a pre-accelerator class to get more women into startups and entrepreneurship to start businesses and work on awesome ideas. I've also judged a lot of other startup competitions. I mentor startups at University of San Francisco, at Singularity University, and I'm a mentor at the German Accelerator as well. So I'm very glad to be here today, and I'm so looking forward to all your pitches. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Anne. And next up would be Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian with the Berkeley Skydeck Fund. We're an early stage venture capital fund that partners with UC Berkeley Skydeck Accelerator. So there's a fund and an accelerator that helps global entrepreneurs from all around the world access Silicon Valley, receive venture capital, and then raise more money as well. And before I was in venture capital, I was a founder and operator at 5 startups. So glad to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Brian. And then next up would be Julie.
Good evening, good morning. I am Julie Maples, a little bit envious of some of the team that's in our office, which is Firefly's office is located at Swissnex on Pier 17. So wishing I was there. So we are a seed stage fund. We've both been, Philippe and I have both been investing for over 2 decades in the seed stage technology space. And since 2015, we've been actually including companies or startups which we call from pockets of innovation, which includes companies that we'll invest in. Up to 35% of our last fund was companies that we invested in out of Europe, out of Switzerland in particular, and the German region. Our next fund will be up to 50%, will be seed stage funds, seed stage companies that we fund out of Europe. So we're a little bit different in that we're a seed stage firm that what we say has a global footprint. It's been a really great experience to blend the best of both worlds, which is the resources of Silicon Valley and beyond, and then the incredible technology and teams that we get to work with from abroad. So excited to hear, I've met some of you already, but excited to hear the pitches today.
Thank you very much, Julie. And then we have Richard as our 4th judge.
Delighted to be here. Richard Pivnicka is my name, and I should mention where I come from when you hear my questions. I'm an accountant lawyer with a master's in finance. While other judges look at the technology, I look at a deal as to whether it's going to make money for the investors. I'm active in the Band of Angels, which is the oldest seed investment group in Silicon Valley. In 26 years, 13 IPOs, 65 exits, and it's very active with over 160 members. Otherwise, I spend my time as the Honorary Consul General of the Czech Republic, and most of the best deals in Central Europe somehow get to my doorstep saying they want help when they really mean they're looking for funding. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard, and all the other judges as well for this introduction. And as you can see, it's a really fantastic panel tonight, and I wish we could actually listen also to them to talk a little bit more. I'm sure they would have a lot of interesting stories to tell. But now we're here for the 7 startups that are in our bootcamp at the moment. And so I'm really excited to start now with the pitches. And first up is a company that's catapulting the wine industry into the next level with a Swiss brain, not only of the founders, of course, but also of their machine. And so how they're doing that, we are excited to hear it from Frederick from Aero 41.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we are. I hope you all see. So thank you very much for welcoming us to this pitching session. My name is Frederick Hemmler. I actually absolutely don't come from the world of drones or from the robotics. I'm a passionate of aviation, and I've been working during 15 years almost as a helicopter pilot, mostly in the Canadian bush, a little bit also in Switzerland, doing mountain rescue. As I said, it's a coincidence. I ended up in robotics and drone world 5 years ago. And I saw a problem. The first problem was aerial treatment, crop protection was banned in Europe in 2009. In Switzerland, we still have an exemption. We still can do with helicopters, vineyards mostly, but it's something that will probably stop sooner or later. The problem linked to aerial treatment is environmental, of course, the drift. The drift is all the product going where it's not supposed to go, public and political problem, the exposure of the workers to pesticides, of course, the compaction of the soil and the pollution. It's a problem we'll find also on ground application systems. So what was the value proposition we have today? What is the value proposition we have today? Sorry. We have two things. We had a first phase, we had to improve a lot the quality of application, which we did till end of 2019. I will talk about that a little bit later. The second thing, very important, is the repeatability of the navigation, to be very precise. I like to say Swiss precise. We need to spray repeatably during a season the right product at the right time, at the right place. To do that, we came to the end at the decision to develop our own flight control unit developed here in Switzerland. It's driven by a computer, we have a proprietary code, and we put all the know-how in this companion computer, including artificial intelligence. What makes the difference with the rest? Unlike our competition, who's mostly working on rice fields, our technology brings the Swiss precision in the most complex agricultural environment, and it integrates artificial intelligence to guarantee repeatability and quality of application. Numbers don't lie. We're already, as you can see on the graph, twice better than the rest of the competition. Organic farming at the end is our future. It's not a trend anymore, it's a reality. We are a manufacturer, we are also service provider, but the solution we offer will facilitate the transition to organic treatment. It's not a trend anymore, I say it, it's a reality. For the time being, we're on a seed tour. We are raising 700,000, we secured already 260,000. I'm available for all questions and be more than happy to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frederick. That was fascinating. And now it's up to the judges for questions. And so please raise your hand. So Anne, I think, was first.
Hey, great pitch, and thank you for presenting. My question would be around the market size, and if you're thinking about other industries as well, other than the wine industry, where this could be an application.
Absolutely. We actually started with the wine industry because we're based in Switzerland, surrounded by very, very complex environments, steep places with a lot of obstacles. And the idea was to say, okay, let's start with that. If we can do very precise precision flight over those crops, we will be able to go on everything else. It won't be a problem, especially if we have hands-on our flight control unit, which we have as of today. But there are lots of other demands we have. The problem is we are too small for the time being and we cannot do everything. And the demand, to be honest, is already much higher than what we can cope with at the time we're speaking. But cacao, tobacco, onions, we have the demand for banana. Mostly it's added value crops. For big crops, big fields, there is no real demand because you need huge volumes. We are here, as I said before, we are the Swiss precision. We put the right product at the right time, at the right moment, at the right amount.
Fantastic. Thank you, Frederick.
But just in the US, for your information, we have 450,000 hectares of vineyards only. It's the 5th country in the world for vineyards. And 88% is on the West Coast.
Thank you very much, Frederick. And I think also Brian had a question for Frederick. Or
yes, I think I understand that what the technology and use case is, but what is the product? Is this something that a company, a vineyard is buying and renting for a month? Is this a software as a, I guess a drone as a service? What is the actual product here?
That's a very usual question, actually, and we have lots of to play with that, because a lot of people ask us, are you a manufacturer or are you a service provider? And that's actually, if I summarize, it's a question. We've been providing service, and we developed our technology directly in the field with the farmers. So yes, we started the first 2 years being a service provider, but with the advantage of having a lab who pays us for research and development. Okay, so we've been a mix from both, but now for the decision, the strategy now is to enhance the product so that we will be the manufacturer, because the people, the customers, they want to buy our system, but we saw with them, they don't want to learn to fly a drone. It's a tool. They want to push on a button like your Apple, your iPhone, and the drone does the job. And that's why we turn now the strategy to the development of our own flight control unit. At the end of this year, for sure, we will turn the company into a manufacturer company. This year already, we outsourced all the service delivery to gather information from the field and generate revenue, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Question properly?
yes, Richard? One last question.
Yes, quick answer. Drone field is very crowded, but there's a lot of farms in the world, so I'm not worried for you. How do you differentiate yourself quickly with the closest next product?
What do you mean by the closest next?
There are other drones delivering product.
We are definitely the future, because we are creating an ecosystem with an open source flight control unit with our know-how in the companion computer. And we want in the future, because there are lots of other startups on the agtech field, yes, to be able also to fusion all those data. And the near future, but near means probably 5 years, is not anymore to spray over the crops, but to do spot spraying and to say, okay, we have fusion of sensors, and we'll be able to say, okay, let's protect just those 500 square meter in the middle of that field, because it's more sensible, more attacked by the disease. So how do we see ourselves compared to the competition, the next competition, which probably would be DJI, the Chinese manufacturer? We definitely are an agnostic system which will be able to fusion all the data. That's how we can gather and do spot spraying in the near future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Frederick, and thank you very much, judges, for those fantastic questions. And already the next company is coming up, and we actually stay in agtech, we stay in organic, but we move away from the field and away from the machines into the lab. And we are actually learning how that fruits and vegetables are experience an extended shelf life, and how AgroSustain is doing that. We will hear it from Olga.
Thank you, Franziska. So I'm happy to present your AgroSustain. In AgroSustain, we are developing natural fungicides in order to replace currently available chemical ones. So I guess each of you heard about significant losses that we're experiencing quite often because of the molds. And currently available solutions, which are really good working, are chemical ones. However, they're having a negative impact on the environment. And right now, our goal is to develop a new alternative solutions in order to solve the issue of negative impact on the environment and our health. However, if you look at overall market potential of the fungicide market to date, you can see that by 2024, it's still going to be heavily dominated by the currently available chemical solutions. And the reason for it, its efficacy is really good, is between 80 to 100%. And when you think about cost, it's still more favorable for chemicals compared to the naturals, which are quite often not as effective, and they're still much more costly. And this is exactly the problems that we also hear quite often in the media, which is saying that a lot of chemical pesticides are being banned in the US or in Europe because of the negative impacts. And this is how we position ourselves. So we are trying to be a link between effective solutions to find molds, but at the same time by having no negative impact on the environment. And what we had built over the last 5 years is a product that's working and protecting over 1,000 types of crops by killing or preventing development of over 100 types of molds which are infecting them. And our value proposition is to have a broad spectrum antifungal solution which is originated from the cabbages, meaning that it's also environmental friendly and it's also supported by the currently conducted toxicological studies. And the cool part about it, it is cost effective and it requires no additional installations if you want to apply it into the fields, which is mainly done by spraying, or if, for example, you want to do it into the post-harvest, where you can still do it by spraying or dipping, depending a lot on the crop type. Where do we stand now? We had conducted quite a lot of production already of our active ingredient to show that it was scalable. We had launched a number of toxicological studies with positive outcomes, meaning that it was shown not to be cancerogenic or mutagenic, and now we are launching the next steps. And we are finalizing development of our final product, because when we talk about pesticides, it's a bit like medication. You don't need to have only powder, you also need to make coating around this powder to make it work in the right time and at the right moment. In addition to that, we have a pipeline of another additional products so that farmers can do rotation of the diverse natural pesticides, so fungi don't develop fast resistance, which we hear quite often these days. Our customer acquisition strategy started already last year when we first tried to build relationships, understanding what is the current issues with molds, and we are helping them by identifying the molds that they're experiencing issues with and recommending them solutions which are currently available on the market. This year, we are launching our pilot trials with large retailers and food producers to validate the efficacy of our product. And the first sales of our product are expected to start in Russia first in 2023, followed by the US market and then by European. It's not because we don't like Europe, it takes a bit longer to have product registration in Europe compared to the other geographies. Thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to questions.
Thank you very much, Olga. And now I'm curious to hear the questions. Who has a question from the judges? So Julie.
Good evening, Olga. Nice to see you. I'd be curious, with the relaxing of constraints here in the US, are there any ways to accelerate time to market, just given the current environment here? You mentioned through the EPA, so I'd be curious to follow up on that with you.
Sure. I mean, indeed, right now, US and also Europe, they're starting quite a lot to facilitate the registration of the new biological solutions. But prior to your deposition, you still need to conduct quite a number of extensive studies, including toxicology, effectiveness, and etc. So maybe it can be facilitated by 1 year, maximum 2 years, but it's still a lengthy process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what are the regulations that you have to go through the EPA, say here in the US, or what are the regulations through Russia that you have to go through?
Overall, they're actually pretty similar. So first, you're showing that your product is not toxicological. So let's say you have to do the first key test, which is called AIMST. Then it's followed by the chronic studies, subchronic studies, and then you are running minimum 2 years efficacy studies in the field to show that the product really works and in which type of crops. And then you also need to show that if it's biodegradable, in which stage, and etc.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Julie. Fantastic question. And I think Anne had another question.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about your business model or what you're thinking your business model will be in the future. Obviously, you're not there yet, but I was just wondering if this is going directly to the farmers or to the manufacturers, the food manufacturers, and how that will all play out in your mind right now.
Sure. So we are still a small startup, which is mainly dedicated to the R&D. So when we talk about our sales, it's mainly going to work for the distributors. But when we talk about distributors, we mainly envision corporate, like large clients who are working closely with farmers, but at the same time who are not distributing solutions similar to ours. So in this case, there is no direct competition.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Fantastic. And since we don't have any other question, or we have one last question. Richard.
Yes, I certainly wish you luck because I have a small vineyard in Silicon Valley and I believe in what you're doing. However, you're not going to trials until 2020. How can you convince the investor that you have an effective fungicide today?
We are in 2020, and we had already launched our first pilot trials with the first outcomes showing that the product is working.
Thank you.
But I would love to come to your vineyards to show you that our product also works.
I need a lot of weeding. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we're all looking forward when that is possible again. And I think with that, we will go over to the next startup. Thank you so much, judges, and thank you, Olga. Next up is actually a company. So we are going back to the field, but a little bit a different field. And we are actually hearing a company that's working on revolutionizing the soccer industry. So the green grass of soccer is not the topic, but more what's happening on there. Coachbetter is working on scaling great training for grassroots and semi-professional clubs to the next level. So how they're doing that, we're looking forward to hear it from Patrick from Coachbetter.
Hi everyone, and I start with a quote. So coaching is taking players where they can't take themselves. I'm Patrick, co-founder of Coachbetter. And Coachbetter is all about football, coaching, and software. After working for FIFA, promoting and developing a game across the world, and being a coach myself, I quickly realized the high demands on coaches and their teams. And this is where the mission of Coachbetter was built. We wanted to build software that supports coaches in developing, managing, and communicating with their team and all stakeholders involved, so it adds value to everybody. Ultimately, by that, making the team and the game and the players better. So let me start speaking actually who's our target audience and what problem are we solving. We're looking into our target audience from the grassroots to the semi-professional space. These can be individual coaches that want to digitalize their processes, but it could also be clubs and academies that want to streamline the processes and support their coaches in learning and developing. And lastly, it could also be governing bodies that educate and license coaches in certain regions. So what problem are we actually solving? What problems do these coaches have? They have usually limited time as they have a day job. They have limited resources to keep developing themselves, and there's limited budgets to spend on digitalization. And this is where Coachbetter comes in. We are a holistic and fully integrated platform that is affordable for everyone. We provide tools to coaches for their core coaching activities, such as session planning, match day preparation, and even video analysis. So basically what you can say is Coachbetter is taking coaches where they can't take themselves. What's important to know, the next generation of coaches, digitalization will be integrated in their identity. And this is already proven now. More than 50% of coaches are already spending money on some kind of technology. 8%, there's an annual 8% growth rate of that spend. And actually the top 10 soccer markets have more than 800,000 coaches we can target. I want you to know that we're an early stage startup. We have launched our product at the beginning of this year with a 7 weeks roadshow across the US. Since that, we onboarded more than 500 free trial users and already converted our first paying customers. These paying customers are actually across the world, from Bermuda to Nigeria all the way across the US, within Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and even in Malaysia. So this only proves to us that there's a high demand for our platform. Football has the same rules across the world, and we are here to support. So lastly, I want to say we have a killer product, but also we have a killer team. Apart from being very passionate, very driven, hardworking, apart from having a complementary and diversified skill set, and a part of having a deep network inside football, most importantly, we have deep relationship and friendship for years. We know our weaknesses, we know our strengths, and most importantly, when our backs are against the wall, we find solutions. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm going to be in a network session afterwards. So if anybody wants to speak about investment opportunities or potential partnerships, please join our room and speak to us. And happy to hear the judges' questions now. Thank you so much. Keep playing.
Thank you very much, Patrick. That was a great pitch. And now it's over to the judges for questions. So who of the judges has the first question? Yeah, Brian, word is over to you.
Yes, hi. Where are you currently at in terms of traction and working with sports teams? And where do you think you'll get to, I guess, in the next 2 years?
Okay. So traction in terms of paying customers, there's only 20 so far, but these are individual coaches, these are clubs, and we have 3 different packages. So there's a basic pro and elite package and a club solution, and we have sold basically of each segment we have at least one. Our initial business plan said that we want to be at 2,500 coaches by the end of the year. And we got great momentum with our roadshow in the US, where we visited 3 to 4 clubs, associations, colleges in the US. But obviously, COVID came a little bit into that dilemma. So we have like rebuilt our financial model. We're targeting now 500 to 700 coaches by the end of year, and then growing. What I also want to mention is that soccer for us is just a catalyst to build something great. Obviously, we can take this business model into other sports as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrick. And also Brian for that question. Who has the next question of the judges? So Anne is raising her hand. Over to you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your business model, actually. Digging in a little bit into the 20 paying ones, like what are they paying for? And is it a subscription? And are there opportunities to upsell along the way? Or how are you looking at that?
Great question. So it's subscription based. There's 3 standard subscription for individual coaches. And then there's a club solution, which is customizable, meaning we work with the club or a governing body asking them, hey, what is your training framework? What is your playoff style? We consult them and integrate all of that into the platform. Okay, so at the moment, our standard solution has more than 250 training activities, a lot of knowledge in there, which comes with the training or with the standard package. But the club usually have their own framework, their own methodology. So we help them to digitalize and basically build it into the platform. So the basic package or the subscriptions go from 12 or for $99 a year up to $549 a year. And then the club solution is based on the needs. In terms of upscaling, for sure, there is premium service we can do in terms of professional video analysis. We can offer them through our network, and the entire digitalization of their content is really important, especially for clubs and governing bodies.
Nice. Yeah, and I can see that the data that you're collecting there is probably very valuable across the board, right? And then a quick follow-on question, then how do you go to market? It sounds like very time intensive if you go from club to club. Do you think about partnerships right now with colleges, universities, high schools, or how does that look like?
Our go-to-market strategy is actually threefold. So when I say 7 weeks in the US, we didn't target the small fishes. We really went like a top-down approach, going through state association, did a little bit of logo hunting, going to big universities and big clubs as well, obviously. But the first pillar basically is going through our network. So my time at FIFA, basically I can reach every member association across the world with my network. One of our advisory board members has been working 20 years for the US Soccer Federation, building an entire grassroots space. So he can open any door within the US for us, and it's an incredible market for us. And then obviously we have this going to events like biggest soccer convention in the US. We went at the beginning of the year. And then the third pillar is social media, ads, partnerships, and so forth. Targeted marketing.
Awesome, thank you. I think Julie had one more question.
Julie, do you have one more quick question?
I did. Yeah, quick question. So I'm just, how do you think about, just given how global soccer is, right? How do you think about normalizing the pricing, right? So coaches have very little budget, as you know. How do you think about charging somebody in Nigeria versus the US versus Japan that has these clubs that are incredibly financed, right?
Yeah, I love that question. That's also a big discussion over the past month for us, especially as these Nigerian coaches just recently came in. We spoke to market leaders. For example, Y-Scout is a big company that we partner with. They have done a tier pricing, basically big professional clubs, they pay a higher price than an amateur club. And obviously we are a vision-based company and we also want to support every coach across the world. And for a region as in Nigeria, we obviously would adjust our prices and would make a great story out of that as well.
Yeah, I think it would be a great story to say for every coach that you sponsor in a very well-funded market that you would extend to one of the other markets where soccer's probably more even important to just the culture and the vibrancy of so that would be kind of like the Tom's model, right?
Yeah, I love it. And my heart is really in football development. As I work for FIFA, I really believe in football development without all the political ties. So I can freely do that now, and that makes me really happy. Yeah,
great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the great questions. And also thank you so much, Patrick, for the pitch. We have already next startup coming up. Next startup is actually also working on something smart, obviously, but on a smart device. And they're already active on a global scale as well, like Coachbetter. They're basically born global, and they're making sure that you always have a warm meal on the go, but so many other things as well. So what they're doing, we're looking forward to hear more from Fabian from Faitron.
Hello everyone, I'm Fabian, co-founder and CEO of Faitron. And we're the experts in smart heating products. And it's all based on one single technology. It's temperature controlled heating, and then we applied first in heating lunchboxes and then more into baby bottles as well as more. So HeatsBox allows you to warm up and heat up your food anywhere, anytime. Within just a couple of minutes, you take your phone, set the timer, how you want to heat it up, temperature it should be warmed up to, and if you had no time to warm it up, like to prepare at home, you can also cook, such as rice, pasta, and so on, right in the HeatsBox. And then based on the same technology, it's really a platform technology, we move then into the baby bottles. So there's a first smart warming baby bottle. When you're out on the go, you can feed your baby milk at the perfect temperature. This is especially important because the milk burns, the nutrients are getting burnt over 40 degrees, so it has to be temperature precise. And that's also then coming with BabyBoo. So power-based, you can, same with the app, battery-based, you can charge several times. Makes it easy to really feeding milk, also feeding breast milk on the go. Very simple, very easy. The whole platform technology is patent protected, as you can see in major countries, US, Europe, for the different products. Then also looking in the application that's pending now into more devices right now. This is one on the list. How do we market this technology? It is really by going to the consumer brands on the one hand, or selling them the technology in a licensing model. When we look at the market, the European small domestic market alone is roughly at the $15 billion growing. The baby bottle market global is right now at $3 billion as well, growing. Below you can see some of our partners we work with. And now we're here basically to look for consumer brands or distributors to sell our products.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Fantastic pitch. And now it's over to the judges for some questions. So Richard's hand went up first.
Yes, congratulations on your product, but I need to observe that my gardener, when he comes over in midday, he brings a microwave that he plugs in at my house, so you have competition. I like the idea of the baby bottle. Have you gone to Walmart? Because that's one-stop shopping, so to speak. You get them and you're all done for life. Have you?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
But if you know someone, we're happy for any introduction.
I have the perfect person.
Perfect.
Tell me, does the baby bottle work effectively and how long does it stay warm?
So it warms up in 4 to 6 minutes. Is basically the reason. So that's as fast as the bottle warmers at home. There's no delay in or loss in performance. The reason why is you have in the bottle warmer you have water. You warm up. That consumes a lot of energy. We don't have any water in between. You directly warm up all around, and this also is the reason that enables you to track the temperature of the milk. Otherwise, you have the water and that warms up usually 80, 90 degrees, and this Celsius, and this can burn your can burn the milk if you don't be careful.
Thank you. Quick answer to the next one. What is the size of the box itself? Because I had worked in the trades, and a box for people working the trades, they eat twice as much as anybody else. The box got to be this big. How big is your box?
Depending. It is really the technology. I mean, we have 2 products right now. We are working on a 3rd one. This is, for example, the one where you can see on my hand on the scale. Volume is 1 liter volume right now on this one. But it's not limited to any size. As you can see, the technology is not limited, so you can also bottles, as well as different sizes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. So the next judge who has a question is Anne.
I love your products, so congrats. I would love to hear which product is doing better, and you have 2 completely different markets here, right? Well, maybe it's the mothers for both of them, I don't know, but tell us more about that and how you're addressing those 2 markets.
It's really consumer brands. It's different markets. It's exactly the one doesn't want to do the other from our brands we work with, or as well as distributors. So it is really, I mean, we're fully B2B driven. That's how we try to be as much efficient as possible. Right now, as we are longer on the market, is of course the heating lunchboxes, as well as to COVID-19. It's incredible because restaurants, they don't want to go to restaurants anymore. Things are changing. They cooked for the last 8 weeks, and luckily for us, China is incredible right now in that demand. So and this is going to be then in Europe and in the US, hopefully very shortly then as well.
Awesome, and I do have a contact for you too, bringing market products into the US market and specifically retail.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Fabian. And I'm afraid we're already almost at time and don't have time for another question. But if you're interested to talk more to Fabian, please meet him afterwards in the networking on that other platform. So thank you very much, Fabian, for a great pitch and for the judges for the great questions. And so the next company actually developed a product that makes you look good while seeing well on the go. So what that does mean, and we will hear it from Moni and Sandra from Read On.
Thank you, Franziska. Hello, I'm Monica. And I'm Sandra. Read On is our new innovation a multifunctional iPhone case with integrated thin reading glasses.
The market situation. We face an aging society with eyesight problems. Worldwide, every third person needs glasses for reading, but where to put them? We have full pockets, scratched, broken, and finally lost reading glasses. On the other side, we have a huge smartphone supremacy.
Concept innovation, 2 in 1, always at hand. This is a blue ocean strategy. We reinvent the glasses and create a new product category with USP and style. No competitors.
We created a product family, one eyewear shape, different phone cases. We launched the product with the new iPhone generation. The design is unisex and fits perfectly to the Apple products. And we have 4 lens diopters to choose.
Milestones, 2.5 years of development, 2 design awards, Kickstarter launch in the next few weeks, and our goal is 2 to 3 million sold pieces in the next 5 years with a retail price of $49.
Our international patent applications have 28 claims, and Read-On is our registered trademark. We collaborated with a leading Swiss chemical company to find our smart solution.
Read-On has a huge potential. Customized lenses, more multifunctionality and styles for different products and brands.
Over a decade of innovative, extra thin eyewear experience is the base for Read-On, our 3rd startup. This is the team: Will, the finance guy, Ruben, our marketing expert, Monica, construction engineer, co-founder, eyewear specialist. I'm Sandra, industrial designer, also co-founder and eyewear specialist. Eric, another construction engineer, and Nina, our photographer.
We are looking for distributors and investors. Thank you very much.
Readonmobile.com. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sandra and Monica. That was a fantastic pitch. And now Richard's hands up.
Yes, nice pitch. I coached the team that was on Shark Tank that had pop-out lenses. So I happen to know something about your space. Will you be able to move from reading glasses to prescription in your roadmap? Because the market is much larger. And the second question is, can you charge your phone on a device right now? I don't charge my iPhone by plugging it in. I put it on a disc and it charges through that charging disc. Will you be able to have that functionality?
I have a question back, sorry. Can you charge your phone with a case?
Yeah.
I charge my phone currently on a disc.
Yeah.
It's plugged in and it's by induction. So when you put a glass case in between the two, I don't know if that'll interfere with the charging.
So question 1, thank you for your questions. Yes. Question 1, that's possible. That would be easy. Question 2, we have to check it.
Fine, thank you.
Fantastic, very precise answer and question. So Julie is up next.
Yeah, so I was curious, in terms of competition, I know that here in the Silicon Valley, a company called Thin Optics, which has the glasses, and don't you see them as competition? They come right out of the back of the case. They're readers.
Not really, because they have a kind of, we call it pince-nez. They have old-fashioned style without arms, without temples. And we have the different problems there because you easily touch the lenses when you put it on the nose. knows your angle is not correct,
Okay.
it easily falls off and it looks a bit old-fashioned.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
And you have to glue it on your phone case.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So do we have another question? Yeah, and one last question.
Yeah, quick one. Congrats. Cool product. I love it. I'll tell my husband about it. I was in the iPhone canvas market, so I know every time a new iPhone comes out, you're like, oh my God, my entire injection mold needs to be adjusted. How do you address that?
We are a small team. We focus on industrial design, innovation, and our goal is to be faster than the others.
And our case producers, they always know ahead what next is coming.
So they have 30 years of experience, and since we have smartphones, they also do smartphone cases, and we try to be as fast as possible, but awesome. That's definitely a challenge.
Thanks.
Thank
you. Super quick last question from Richard.
Yes, please consider sunglasses that are magnetic.
Cool.
Make a bigger market.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And so with that full comment, we will go actually, thank you so much, Moni and Sandra, for the great presentation and for the questions, judges. And with that, we are at the last company for tonight. So the next company is actually, again, a platform. So we are moving a little bit away from the tangible space again, but they're also working on revolutionizing an industry. And for them, it's the construction and planning industry. So how they're doing that, we are looking forward to hearing it from Heather from Gilytics.
So I have church bells and a little bit of a techno party going on outside. So I apologize if it's a little bit loud. It's not in my apartment. It's the lockdown party next door. So my name is Heather and I'm a co-founder of Gilytics, and we're all about really making infrastructure planning smarter. My background is in entrepreneurship and in energy. I worked at GE Power before, so I'm passionate about this topic. So what we do, for example, with SBB, the National Railway here, who I think are in the audience, we basically make routing for power lines and other infrastructure much, much easier with better data, better visuals, which makes it easier for them to communicate. For example, for SBB, it was easier to communicate with their engineering partners as a result of the data that we shared. We work with energy and engineering clients, and there are lots of them all over the world, and we can cut planning by around 50%. So why is the time now? Well, if I was in San Francisco now and I wanted to go get a coffee, I would take my phone out, I would put in the name of Pete's, I'd look on maps, and in a few seconds, I'd see exactly where I wanted to go without having to do a lot of data crunching. So why is it so easy to buy a coffee and find where it is and so difficult to plan a power line? Here's a picture of a fire that took place in California. I'm sure a lot of you witnessed it because some trees were too close to the power line. If they had had better data and some spatial analytics, they could have prevented things like this. So what we need to do today is go from that to really green energy and upgraded infrastructure all over the country. This is a big opportunity. It's a $2 billion market, and investment is actually growing even in this tough time. We think we can achieve 10% market share and help companies to deliver projects faster by being more digital. So how do we do it? We actually provide a smarter SaaS solution on the cloud. Here's an example. You can see the line for a power line, point A and point B. This is in a country where you have to cover thousands of kilometers. You get to decide what metrics to measure. You can see that on the right-hand side. So we can data crunch hundreds of layers of spatial data and make the whole process a lot easier. You see the heat map there. You can then zoom in and see actually in 3D exactly the land parcels and how to move the power line. On the right-hand side, you see the analytics. So the analytics are great because then you can better communicate with your teams internally, with your customers externally, your suppliers, and also with communities that may not want the project in their backyard. So here you can see the 3D visualization. You can quantify OpEx, CapEx, CO2 to make the whole process better. So why work with us? We have a proven product based on research out of the ETH. We have pilots and an IP pipeline and repeat clients. You can see Tenet, one of them in the background here. We can scale globally. We already have revenues, and we really are different. I am not a coder, I'm not technical, but I could use the solution without having to do complicated integration into systems. And we've worked with people like Swissgrid who talk about how easy it makes their life when it comes to planning. We have a great team. A doctor, I'm a deal maker, and Philippe is actually our lieutenant, making sure we do everything on time. We have a great group of advisors with a lot of extensive experience in the field, a lead investor, and some strong partners like the European Space Agency. So how can you help us? We are looking for partners like Bechtel here in the background to help us distribute our software, pilot customers to try new use cases to help us grow. And of course, we're happy to give you a demo if you want to learn more about the product and give us feedback, or if you'd like to invest and join our round. So get in touch and let's have a coffee. I also wanted to say that a lot of companies and governments are investing in infrastructure at the moment because it actually creates jobs. So we all need those at the moment. So the time really is right to invest in infrastructure. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather, and also for that vote at the end. So now, judges, do you have questions for Heather? I think Anne's hand went up. So, Anne?
Awesome project, and I can definitely tell you that the US is looking at this, and California is too. So have you had any conversations with PG&E, and how is your business development set up and going in the US right now?
So currently we're looking for multipliers. So that's why we think Bechtel is a good partner. We've signed a letter of intent with them because they are working on so many different kinds of verticals that we can leverage. I did work with PG&E in the past, so we're kind of waiting to see how the situation stabilizes with a new org there. But we hope to be coming there to get in touch with these organizations more directly and working more with industry organizations to achieve scale quickly.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Julie has a question.
Yes, so this is a super interesting area for us, smart cities and sort of the future development. How do you think about, as the industry is changing, meaning that we now see companies that are looking to actually put power lines underground, right? There's a lot of initiatives out of DC as cybersecurity, right? Is that something that should be really protected? And or alternative sources. So we've seen a company that is developing alternatives to power lines. So I'm just curious how you think about your business as the industry is shifting and moving to different types of solutions.
We definitely are monitoring the whole regulatory space. There is also a similar kind of regulation in the EU. So our solution does work underground. You can use it for all kinds of wires. So that's what's so great about it. So we have been testing that, and you can use it. Often you're going to be doing below ground and above ground at the same time in the same project. So we're testing that, and we're welcome to get in touch with pilot partners that might want to work with us on that.
How do you get the, there must be some stream of data or source of data that allows you to map what is currently underground and or any obstructions? Where do you source that type of data?
Yeah, so actually we work with Cesium. They're launching some underground data libraries. Okay. So in fact, when you go underground, you have to have a lot more detail. So we're working on.
Yeah, great, thank you. I built out a lot of the early fiber optic infrastructure in California, so I remember that well.
Yeah, we just talked to a customer this week about doing the testing of their broadband network.
Okay, great, thank you.
Fantastic. And is there another question from the judges? So Richard has another question.
Yes, I just want to congratulate you on your conclusion and the ask you had. I think all startups should have a conclusion like that. It's first rate.
So I was a little over time, but there you go.
Fantastic. And so if there is no other question, I would like to thank you very much, Heather, for the great pitch and for the judges for the question and the closing words from Richard as well. Then I would have some closing words as well. So thanks everybody who stayed through until now. Now is actually the time to move to the fun part. Usually we would turn on the music and the bar would open and you could grab a drink. This time we're actually doing that all on our own, but you can also afterwards go and grab a drink. I wanted to show you quickly again, we have a Twitter channel where we keep you posted about the latest developments of all our campers. So follow us on @SwissStartups. And if you have any questions, if you're a founder who wants to get into the program, or if you want to become a mentor or get in touch with us about entrepreneurship, reach out to startups@swissnexsf.org. And with that, I would love to thank you, everyone. And please, let's all rejoin for Remo. All the startups will have demo tables. It's a really fun tool, so please join us, grab a drink, make a quick break, but we will switch right after this event to this tool. So the link has been shared in the chat function. And with that, I would love to conclude our first ever virtual demo day and thank everybody from the judges, the startups. You have done a great job and thanks so much for participating. And I wish you a great rest of your day or a great evening. And I hope to see most of you at Remo, where actually my colleague Linda will welcome you. Good night.